Hello, I'm Charles Gross.
And I'm Leslie Hoban Blake. And we're standing outside of Judd's Memorial Church, where we have just seen in the gymnasium a new play called Diaspora.
Right, and this is Two on the Aisle, First Impressions. This play was written by Nathaniel Sam Shapiro and directed by
Sahim Ali.
Yes. Takes place on Masada, that is a huge fortress in Israel, mountaintop fortress, amazing structure, built by Herod thousands of years ago.
73 BCE.
Well, no, that's not when it was built.
Oh,
that
sorry.
is when that is when
When
part of the
Masada
story
took
takes
place. Yes,
place,
I got you.
where a bunch of Jews under pursuit by the Romans took refuge there, stayed there as long as they could, ultimately opted to kill themselves rather than be killed by the Romans.
Left off the top of Masada, did they not?
Well,
that's the
that's
story
one of
that
the
I
things.
read.
Well, that's one of the things the playwright is trying to quote unquote debunk. He says, the stories that we've heard are what happened is true. How it happened is not necessarily true. But since very few of us really know the story, it's really not something that needs debunking, and he doesn't do a very good job with it either. Fortunately, that's a small part of the play. Most of the play takes place in modern time, where Jewish teenagers or young adults are on a birthright, a mission to Israel birthright. It gives young people the chance to see and tour Israel.
Unfortunately, they're kind of stereotypical.
Not Jewish kids, but stereotypical teenagers.
Teenagers and stereotypical Americans on tour somewhere else.
And unfortunately, their teenage stuff kind of takes precedence over the Israel stuff, so why he even bothered calling it Diaspora, I will never know. All in all,
Diaspora, of course, being the word for the movement of the Jews over time.
Right. Basically, Jews who are outside of their homeland, outside of Israel. In other words, us. Or people,
me half,
yeah,
all.
yes. All right. Ultimately, I did not find the characters interesting. The play is very poorly written, very boring, and it certainly does not accomplish what the playwright wanted to do. He writes a whole bunch of paragraphs in the playbill about what he intends to do, which ultimately were more interesting than the play itself, although that's not saying much.
There were moments where I came in and out of the story. I think that's the way it's written. It little bits and pieces were more interesting than others. The actors were all very fine, nice, new, young actors. I don't know any of them. We'll give their names perhaps when we do this.
Well, it had its moments. The problem is the play runs a little over an hour and a half, and the moments add up to about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. But we will do an in-depth review when we put
on
this
an upcoming Two on the Aisle.
Aisle.
Meantime, this is Two on the Aisle First Impressions. I'm Charles Gross.
Leslie Hoban Blake. See you soon.